Greetings. So today we're going to be checking out a subreddit called DeadBedRooms, and like the name implies, it's essentially relationships that aren't having any action in the bedroom. I hope you never have to come here. So right now on the screen should be a guide to all the terms that are going to be used in this video, because with every subreddit comes their own terminology and words. So LL, low libido, HL, high libido, those are the only ones we really need to know. Anyway, let's get into it. So our first story, latest discussion with LL wife killed all hope. I didn't want to go through all the background, just really needed to vent. If you're curious, my other posts explain things. This will definitely be a not safe for work post, so I can actually explain things. I just really need to vent because I have no one IRL to talk about this with. Apologies for the wall of text in advance. Finally managed to get my wife to have a real conversation about everything, mainly because she had been drinking, and she confirmed that what I had been assuming. She has no set drive period. The few times we have intercourse, she has only been doing this because she feels like a bad wife. She also confirmed she does not enjoy kissing or basically any physical contact. I do not understand this. You have to determine this way before you put a ring on a person's finger, because it's so incredibly important. It's kind of difficult to say for people who are waiting till marriage, but you have to at least have some kind of gauge or knowledge or foresight into whether or not something like this could happen in the future. And for relationships with no fire and passion, you have to try to do everything you possibly can to bring some kind of spark back. Obviously, it won't be the spark that you had your first 10 months of dating, but you have to try and bring some kind of spark back. And if that doesn't work, it might be time to move on. Like, no physical contact, because I've had females I've interacted with who are exactly like this, but I obviously would never marry any of them. That just wouldn't work. You know, the relationship ends there. As soon as I learned that about a female, the relationship ends for me. And that's just the way humans work. If you aren't compatible, you aren't compatible. Anyway, let's get back to it. She says it's from birth control, which is possible, and I don't doubt is partially responsible, but she's been on it for 6 years, and this issue did not start till around the time we married around 3 years ago. She's unable, so you couldn't even see the signs because she wasn't acting like that before. She's unable to stop taking OT due to certain health issues, but refuses to try new versions because this one does not cause other issues besides no sex drive. I'm not going to be that garbage person that tells her to suffer so that I'm satisfied. The real killer is we have been having discussions about kids, as is around the time we have been planning for years. We discussed it during this conversation, with me saying that I'm concerned, even though it's selfish, that our intercourse life will become even more sparse. Her answer was that she's not concerned because it doesn't bother her either way and can't really get worse than it is. Then, as a consolation, she said that at least while we're trying and she's off of birth control, that maybe we can have a normal intercourse life for a few months. Apparently to her, a few months of normalcy before it gets even worse should be acceptable. To add to it, she's not a fan of me. Because on the rare occasions we have sex, she doesn't want that causing me to last longer. She also does not want me watching pornography, even though we used to watch it together, and tells me I should watch the things we recorded. I have a grand total of 1 picture and 3 videos that were recorded years ago. I asked her if that's the case, then maybe we could make some more, because it's not helpful to watch the same short things over and over, but she said no. She's a piece of trash. When I asked what she expects me to do, she basically said I should just deal with it for how long it is until she feels like having intercourse. Therapy or the doctor also was brought up again, but she said that she would do no good since it's caused by birth control, and she's not willing to swap, and that she does not want to spend money on therapy. After all this, she once again started calling herself a bad wife, which she is, which ended the conversation so that I could console her. I obviously told her that it's not her fault. I don't blame her. It might not be her fault if she's not attracted enough to her husband or if he's done something that's resulted in this happening. But even if something isn't like your fault in terms of, oh, I'm blaming you for this, you're a horrible person for this. If you cause something to happen, then it is your fault. Like if you accidentally kill somebody in a car crash, it's your fault even though you aren't negatively being blamed for this. So she's actively doing something that's resulting in the detriment of her relationship. Therefore, it is literally her fault. There's no question about it. There's no emotions. There's no, oh man, you're a horrible person for this. But by definition, she's doing something that is significantly hurting her relationship with her husband. So it is her fault. I told her that, yeah, I'm miserable, but I'm not blaming her. It's her fault. But yeah, I understand that. She's your wife. So now I'm just feeling broken. She knows how badly this affects me, but seems so cold and uncaring about it that I just don't know what to do anymore. I spent the rest of the night laying beside her without sleeping, so I could only think about the conversation over and over. Once again, sorry for the wall text, I just needed to get it off my chest. But, LMAO, she is a bad wife. You expressed to her how you feel. She said, I'm not going to try fixing anything. We'll only make a change when it benefits her. She'll come off because she wants a baby, and hey, maybe you'll benefit too. Then says you can't, and you can't watch. That's not a partner at all, and you should stop consoling her. Exactly. Yes, exactly what I just said. Man, she doesn't want you. Haha, dude, it's like perfectly normal to controlling. That's a weird one. I definitely would not be planning kids here. That would be a life of complete misery. Yeah, and that's why I haven't stopped, and I'm definitely pushing that way back, even though she wants to start now. This sounds like a sub 5 DBDR type dude who's in a relationship. Well, that's not even the case, because they were going crazy before the relationship. Then she just started acting weird out of the blue. Like, she's got some serious problems within herself that she needs to fix or work on. There's something else. It can't just be the dude. He didn't suddenly get worse unless he became extremely unattractive, unless he like stopped working out, this, that, and the other. So unless he stopped improving himself and then became unattractive to her. But even then, like, I don't get this one. On to the next. My dead bedroom story. I, 32 male, was married for 7 years in a dead bedroom, or a dead room. That sounds good, actually. It should be called deadrooms. That's good. Y'all can take that, by the way. For nearly 5 of those years. My story echoes a lot of the ones in this subreddit. I really want to have consistent intimacy with my wife, but she would just make excuses. I'm tired, I just ate, I need to shower, I haven't brushed my teeth. At some point I just stopped asking. This really isn't funny either. Like, this is some serious stuff. That's just funny. The excuses, the stupid excuses are funny, but this is like serious. This is not a joke. It's not cool in any way, shape, or form. At some point I just stopped asking because it was never going to happen. To be honest, I wake up every day and think about, I have a huge libido in the morning and my wife does not. I had occasional ED issues related to performance anxiety throughout our relationship, which may have contributed to the dead bedroom and a long duration of time between us having intercourse. The ED, I believe, was caused by too much in my teenage years and early 20s. Initially, I didn't feel much pleasure from intercourse, which reduced stimulation to stay erect, but I was pretty sure I could have consistent intercourse. My ED issues would subside as I would stop thinking about them during, and pleasure would increase. I could have experimented with ED medication earlier, but was a little ashamed. I also started to read more about attachment styles and love languages. I realized that my LL's physical touch and my partner's love language was not the same. That's extremely important. People play around and act like the love languages are false and fake, but I've genuinely asked females while on a date like what theirs is, because I need to know right off the bat. If yours is like gift receiving, and the stupid ones or the ones that just aren't compatible with mine, it just won't work out. So it sounds like what he was implying was that a trend in these subreddits is people having ED, which kind of affects the relationship as a result of pornography usage. And that's crazy, because this is like, these are millennials, so these are the people who had the internet long enough in their teenage years and in their early adult years to allow it to ruin them, because the generation above them, you know, they weren't really affected by that. They didn't really have to an opportunity to become extremely addicted to pornography before getting into a relationship with their husband and wife. And although we think it's such a normal thing, everybody watches it, that's not the case. And older people in general, unless they're like trying to be young still, unless they're like one of those old people who hasn't settled down, they don't do that. They aren't addicted to pornography like our generation is. So that's relevant. That's something to think about. The fact that these people's relationships are genuinely being affected by their addictions, or addictions that they haven't handled or dealt with in the past. Last story, help me prevent a dead bedroom. I'm 25, female, and don't know what to do. I am by no means low libido, but I have overwhelming feeling of dread and obligation when it comes to intercourse with my fiance, 26 male, lately, and I don't know how to fix it. If it's just lately, and if it's just temporary, then it's not going to last forever. There are ups and downs, just like there are ups and downs with every single emotion and hormone that we have as a human being. Like, if it's just been like a week or two, or even a month, it's whatever. Like, everybody on earth has had months, weeks where they're just asexual. They don't feel like being dealt with anybody. And that doesn't mean you change your gender or your sexuality, but that's like a normal thing. When we first got together, we were having intercourse pretty much daily. Things were going well. We were both in extremely good shape when we met. Apparently had been obese for most of his life. Then I made a lifestyle change, became extremely fit and healthy. However, not long ago, after we got together, he completely fell into old habits and started eating poorly, not working out, and began gaining weight rapidly. That's not it. This is his fault. One of the big priorities you have to do when you get into a relationship is to make sure that you're continuously leveling up and becoming better, because if you become stagnant, you will become a worse version of yourself. If you marry somebody, right, and they look like a Lamborghini, or if you're dating somebody and when you date them, they look like a Lamborghini that's transforming into a Koenigsegg and getting updated every single year, you know, you got a lease on it, so you get a new one every single year, it just gets better and better. But instead of, you know, getting a new car, a better car, you know, it starts downgrading, you know. Not that a Camry is bad, but, you know, it becomes a Honda Camry, and not a new updated nice one, like a 2006. And then it becomes a 2003 Humvee, you know, just a gas guzzler and big and slow. You can't be mad at your partner if they're angry about that. They signed up for one thing and one deal, and now they have to deal with another one. That's just not fair. That's just not fair. I've tried in the best way I can to vocalize how this has affected my attraction, both in nice ways as well as bluntly, which I do feel badly about. Don't. He always agrees and says he will change his habits, but never does anything about it. He's too comfortable, and you've made him too comfortable. Leave him, come back in a year, and let's see if he's evolved. That heartbreak will get him straight again. I truly love him and value our connection. He thinks that you won't leave. You know, he thinks that you won't leave. You need to threaten him with it. You need to make sure that he's aware of the stakes that are on the table. Anyway, I truly love him and value our connection, so I don't want to leave him. He is truly my best friend. I could sacrifice my physical preferences to be with him. I care more about him as a person than what he looks like, and he's actually a good person. However, I can't force myself to want to have intercourse no matter how hard I try. Shouldn't have to. That's just not something that we, like, naturally do. The intercourse is the most primal thing on earth. There are animals doing it around the world right now. In public, there are people doing it in public. There are millions of people engaging in it right now as we speak. It is just primal. It doesn't even have to have like a formal way of being done. There is no formal way of doing it. There's no right or wrong. It's just a primal, animalistic, beastly thing that results in us continuing our species. And there's nothing you can do to try and force your feelings or attraction or your desire to do so with another human. It just has to be natural and vicious. The issue is he wants to have intercourse all the time like we used to, and I just don't want to at all anymore. We have intercourse maybe 3 times a week, but I'm so sick of being pestered about it. Really enjoy it because it's not as athletic and fun like it used to be. It's that simple. I can tell he's feeling bad when I reject him, but I feel bad when I feel like I'm the only one putting in any effort into our intercourse life, and he can just let himself go. Really starting to feel resentful because I've worked hard to maintain myself and stay in excellent shape, and he won't. I know it's horrible, and I'm being superficial. That is not superficial. Aesthetics, being in shape, and being healthy is not superficial. I'm tired of people acting like it is. It has genuine implications in your ability to reproduce and your ability to take over, conquer, and then do anything on this earth and in this world. Not strictly because of the aesthetics look or the aesthetic evolution or change that doing so or being athletic has in your life, but genuinely because of what you can do. Like, if you have an extremely obese person that you're in a relationship with, you aren't walking on the Great Wall of China with them. You aren't walking on the beaches of Bali. You aren't walking around Paris. You aren't walking at all. No matter how hard I try, though, I can't get past it. I make any excuse to avoid it. And when I do agree to it, it feels like a looming obligation hanging over my head, which I'm sure is reflected in my performance. If anyone has some advice on how to fix this, I would really appreciate it, because I love him, and outside of this, we don't have any issues in our relationship. He knows how to get in shape. He's done it before. He's allowed himself to fall by the wayside as a result of having somebody who's making him so incredibly comfortable. You are a weight, and you are a pillar of security that he doesn't deserve and need right now. You've made him feel so incredibly comfortable, and this isn't your fault, but it is. You made him feel so incredibly comfortable that he doesn't feel like he has to work for you anymore. He doesn't feel like he has to make himself good anymore, attractive or anything. He just feels like he's always going to have you. And you've kind of been proving that over the past few weeks, because maybe it hasn't been happening as often, but it's been happening. I mean, nothing's actually changed. So, of course, I mean, until you, like, develop some actual penalty for him being this way, he won't change. And if I was you, I'd like hold it back until he got completely back in shape, until you felt like attraction again, because even the crumbs that you're giving him, you know, he doesn't deserve those right now. He doesn't deserve any crumbs right now. He needs to go on a water fast. That is all.